Welcome to the video tutorial series on modding SimplePlanes. In this video, we're going to be discussing the Dev Console. The Dev Console can be a very useful tool when working on mods. You can open it by hitting the backquote key, which is typically right above the tab key. The Dev Console will log any debug log calls that you make in your mod. It won't actually start recording these until you open it at least once. So if you are expecting some messages to be logged, the first thing you do when you get in the game is you probably want to open the Dev Console. When the Dev Console is open, the game pauses. Let's go ahead and jump into a map here. Okay. As you can see, I have a few problems. Some warnings, some errors. Warnings are showing up in yellow, errors are showing up in red. If I select one of these, I get some more information. In this case, not really. In this error case, there's some extra information down here. This does scroll in case there's too much to fit the view here. If I click on it again, the details go away. I think by default, this log will remember up to 1,000 records before it starts overwriting some of the oldest. The Dev Console also comes with a handy little command executor here. We got a handful of built-in commands. Let's start with help. Okay, if I click this help entry here, I get some helpful information about how to use the Dev Console. One of the most handy features is being able to traverse the game object hierarchy and even execute methods, properties, things like that. So, if I do a single slash, this finds all my objects at the root of the scene. I get this IntelliSense-like pop-up that I can navigate with the up and down keys. Let's say I select an object. If I do another single slash, I get its child objects. Let's say I want every child object and its descendants of this particular object. I can use a double slash. Alright, kind of cool. Now let's say I want a component on this particular object. I can use a caret. In this case, there's two components. There's the transform and there's this dev console script. Now, for instance, let's say I want every single component of every single child object and its descendants. I can use a double caret. So there's quite a bit there. Similarly, if I just do a double caret at the root, I get every single component in the entire game. Now, what's cool about this IntelliSense pop-up is you can also use it to filter down your selection if you start typing. Let's say I want a list of every single light component in the scene. Start typing light. Looks like there's only one. It's the directional light. Another thing we can do, if we use a single dot, we can get a whole list of all the fields, properties, and methods on this particular component we selected. We can actually execute these properties, fields, and methods as well. Let's say we want to change the color of this light. Start typing color. We can get the color property. We hit enter. We can see the current value of the color. So we retrieved the property. Now let's set the property. We do light.color. I don't really know the format this is expecting for this color. So for now I'm just going to type in gibberish. I get an error. It's kind of expected. I click on this error and I can see a little help message here telling me how to format my argument. It says red, green, blue, alpha, comma separated. Values are floats from 0 to 1. Okay, let's give that a shot. 0.0, 0.0, 0.2. Let's say 9, 1.0. Oops, looks like I had a typo there. That should have been a comma. And there we go. We just changed the value of that light color. Pretty neat. Another thing we can use this Dev Console for is actually running custom commands on our game objects to help us test and tweak our mods. Let's jump into Visual Studio for a second. Okay, here I have a mod that's already kind of set up. It's a pretty simple mod. Basically all it does is allow you to cycle the skyboxes. But I don't actually have anything wired up to do it automatically, so I have to do it through custom commands right now. So I got a skybox info class, I got a list of materials, I got a list of my skybox infos that I'm going to cycle through. In the awake method, you can see I'm setting the current skybox to the first one in the list here. And then anytime we run the cycle skybox command, it'll cycle through the skyboxes. This is code I used in a previous tutorial that actually allows you to swap out the current skybox and change the directional light color. So in the awake method, you can see I'm registering these two commands here, the cycle skybox command and the change skybox command. And when we destroy this game object, which is a map plugin by the way, so it's going to be loaded every time the map is loaded and unloaded every time the map is unloaded. So on the destroy method here, we unregister our commands. Pretty simple. We got a simple cycle skybox command here that takes no parameters, and then this change skybox command takes a skybox info parameter. Now the thing about this skybox info parameter is the dev console has no way to know how to parse it. So in order to actually execute this in the dev console, we're going to have to register an argument parser. This is probably not typically needed for most of the common classes with Unity, like your vectors and your colors and whatnot. Those are already set up to work in the dev console. But for the skybox info class, we use this argument parser. Basically, we just inherit from gender.simpleplanes.modules.devconsole.iArgumentParser for a skybox info, and we override two properties and one method here. This help message, if the user should happen to type in a value that is not able to parse, we provide a useful help message here. The priority, all the default parsers use a priority of 10. If you wanted to say provide a different way to parse a vector and you didn't like the way the dev console parsed vectors, you could register an argument parser for a vector and give it I think it's a lower priority, so it'll run first. And finally we have the try parse command. This is what actually does the parsing. If you are unable to parse the string value of the argument, just set the result to null and return false. Otherwise, do the actual parsing and set the result and return true. Okay, let's jump back to SimplePlanes and see how this works. So if I just start typing my command, we have our cycle skybox command and we have our change skybox command. Let's just try cycle. All right. As you can see, it's cycling through the skyboxes fine. Let's try changing our skybox. Let's say we're working on this night skybox here, and we can't quite get the color right. So what we can do is we can run this change skybox command for the fourth skybox, which is our night skybox. And let's try playing with the colors. 0, 0, let's say 0.2. Okay, kind of dark. We can tweak this a little bit until we find something we like. Once we got it figured out, then we can go in our code and we can change it. So it allows you to easily kind of test and tweak values at runtime and see the results immediately. So it can be a very handy tool when you're developing a mod. And I think that's about all there is to the dev console. Thanks for watching.